Yashodanandana Vrajajana Janjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Janjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Janjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Panchatattva 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 Jaya Panchatattva Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Mayapur Chandra Sikurinda ki Shri Shri Panchatattva ki Ladru Shingadev ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Samveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Gaura Premanandi Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindha Dina Bandha Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 22, Bali Maharaj surrenders his life. Verse 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vivemi Naham Nirayat Padachyuta. Pibehi Naham Nirayat Padachyuta. Pibehi Naham Nirayat Padachyuta. Napasha Bandhat Vyasanad Duratyayat. Napasha Bandhat Vyasanad Duratyayat. Napasha Bandhat Vyasanad Duratyayat. Naivartha Krichrad Bhavato Vinigrahat. Naivartha Krichrad Bhavato Vinigrahat. Naivartha Krichrad Bhavato Vinigrahat. Asadhu Vadat Bhrisham Udvije Yatha. Asadhu Vadat Bhrisham Udvije Yatha. Asadhu Vadat Bhrisham Udvije Yatha. Pibehi Naham Nirayat Padachyuta. Napasha Bandhat Vyasanad Duratyayat. Naivartha Krichrad Bhavato Vinigrahat. Asadhu Vadat Bhrisham Udvije Yatha. Pibehi Naham Nirayat Padachyuta. Napasha Bandhat Vyasanad Duratyayat. Naivartha Krichrad Bhavato Vinigrahat. Asadhu Vadat Bhrisham Udvije Yatha. Pibehi Naham Nirayat Padachyuta. Napasha Bandhat Vyasanad Duratyayat. Naivartha Krichrad Bhavato Vinigrahat. Asadhu Vadat Bhrisham Udvije Yatha. Pibehi Naham Nirayat Padachyuta. Napasha Bandhat Vyasanad Duratyayat. Naivartha Krichrad Bhavato Vinigrahat. Asadhu Vadat Bhrisham Udvije Yatha. Pibehi Naham Nirayat Padachyuta. Napasha Bandhat Vyasanad Duratyayat. Naivartha Krichrad Bhavato Vinigrahat. Asadhu Vadat Bhrisham Udvije Yatha. Pibehi Naham Nirayat Padachyuta. Napasha Bandhat Vyasanad Duratyayat. नैवार्थकृच्छ्रात् भवतो विनिग्रहात् असाधुपादात् वृषमुद्विजे यथा. How's this? Aham nirayat padachyuto napashabandhat vyasanadurathyayat naivartakrichrat bhavato vinigrahat. Vivehinaham nirayat padachyuto napashapanthat vyasanadurathyayat naivartakrichrat bhavato vinigrahat asadhupanthat vrishamudvije yatha. Word for word translation. Bibemi, I do fear. Na, not. Aham, I. Nirayat, from a position in hell. Padachyuta, nor do I fear being deprived of my position. Na, nor. Pashabandhat, from being arrested by the ropes of Varuna. Vyasanat, nor from the distress. Duratyayat, which was unbearable for me. Na, nor. Eva, certainly. Arthakrichrat, because of poverty or scarcity of money. Bhavataha, of your lordship. Vinigrahat, from the punishment I am now suffering. Asadhuvadat, from defamation. Bhrisham, very much. Udvije, I become anxious. Yatha, as. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation: I do not fear being deprived of all my possessions, living in hellish life, being arrested for poverty by the ropes of Varuna, or being punished by you, as much as I fear defamation. Please repeat. I do not fear being deprived of all my possessions, living in hellish life, being arrested for poverty by the ropes of Varuna, or being punished by you, as much as I fear defamation. Purport. Although Bali Maharaj fully surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could not tolerate being defamed for cheating a Brahmana brahmachari. Being quite alert in regard to his reputation, he thought deeply about how to prevent being defamed. The Lord, therefore, gave him the good counsel to prevent defamation by offering his head. A Vaishnava does not fear any punishment. Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bibhyati. Bhagavatam 6:17-28. I do not fear being deprived of all my possessions, living in hellish life, being arrested for poverty by the ropes of Varuna, or being punished by you as much as I fear defamation. Chapter is entitled Bali Maharaj Surrenders His Life. Often in the material world, people like to hear stories of success, especially people coming from a very poor background or unfortunate background, no facilities, and by their strength, by their hard work, by their luck, karma, whatever you call it, they become materially very successful. So this is called rags to riches stories. Literally rags, they don't even have enough proper clothing to wear, but they become very rich, famous, powerful. So this story that we are discussing in Srimad Bhagavatam these days regarding Bali Maharaj, this is the opposite from such a story, because Bali Maharaj, a few verses back, was the proprietor of the entire universe. He had ultimate power beyond anyone's imagination in this current day and age. He had control over the entire universe, unchallenged sovereignty. The demigods were already dispersed and in hiding out of fear of Bali Maharaj's strength. So Bali Maharaj had total power without any opposition. But in just a few moments, by the trick of Vamanadev, Balim Chalayate, he's the trickster. He's become famous as the one who cheated Bali Maharaj. Many times those who like to criticize Krishna, they'll cite this pastime as one instance of the Lord being unfair, where he tricked and cheated Bali Maharaj. Sometimes in ecstasy also, the Lord is remembered in these kind of crooked ways. So in just a few moments, he has stripped Bali Maharaj of his entire standing, all his possessions. The entire universe has been snatched away from Bali Maharaj by the trick of Lord Vamana. And now he's standing there, bound up by the ropes of Varana. He's shackled. All his followers have also deserted him. Asuras have all run away. And Vamanadev is still not satisfied. He's saying, where shall I put the third step? You promised me 3 steps. I've taken everything with 2. So now you're going to be condemned for not fulfilling your promise. So for a king, for a kshatriya, this is a very big deal. Kshatriyas are especially famous for their word, for their honor. If they give their word to protect someone or to give charity to somebody, no matter what, they have to fulfill that. That is one of these pillars of the kshatriya consciousness. In Bhagavad Gita, the qualities of a kshatriya are listed by Krishna. Shauryam tejo tidirdaksham yuddhecha papalayanam dhanam ishvara bhavascha kshatram karma svabhavajam. So dhanam, giving of charity, is one of the main qualities of a kshatriya. And if a kshatriya promises to give something in charity and is unable to do so, then that becomes a cause of great defamation. And this is what Bali Maharaj is experiencing here. That although he's already surrendered everything, the entire universe, the little Brahmana, or not so little Brahmana anymore, is not satisfied. He wants to complete the charity with the 3rd step. And Bali Maharaj has offered his head as the 3rd step. And in the purport here, it says that the Lord gave him that inspiration to offer his head as the place for the Lord's 3rd step. So by so doing, he will get the mercy of the Lord, the lotus foot of the Lord on his head, and he'll simultaneously fulfill his promise to offer 3 steps of land. So Bali Maharaj is showing his where his focus is. He's not worried about that he's lost everything, or that he's going to be pushed into hell, or even that he's been arrested. You know, the king of the universe a few minutes ago is suddenly now being bound and shackled, having lost everything. Those things don't bother him. But he doesn't want to gain the notoriety, gain the ill reputation of not having fulfilled his promise to a Brahmana. He could not tolerate being defamed for cheating a Brahmana brahmachari. Even though it seems quite unfair that Vamanadev tricked him into offering 3 steps, and then he changed his form, and with his 2 steps he covered the lower, middle and upper planetary systems. Still, rather, Bali Maharaj he's not considering that Vamana has been cheating him. He's considering that if I don't offer the 3rd step, I'll be the cheater. And I don't want to gain such an ill reputation. In the last line of the purport, Prabhupada quotes, which this verse has been quoted elsewhere in this section, Narayana para sarve nakutascha nabipati svargapavarga narkesh vapitulyarta darshina. So this verse is spoken by Lord Shiva to Parvati. And the context is that Maharaj Chitraketu had come across Lord Shiva and Parvati sitting intimately in front of many sages, and Maharaj Chitraketu laughed at that scene. And Parvati couldn't understand Maharaj Chitraketu's reason for laughing, and she felt offended that he's laughing at our posture. So she cursed Chitraketu Maharaj to become an asura, who was later Vritrasura. And Maharaj Chitraketu accepted the curse very nicely. He came and paid his respects to Parvati and Lord Shiva, and he said, "That's fine, I accept your curse, as a blessing." And after that, when Maharaj Chitraketu left, then Lord Shiva was glorifying Maharaj Chitraketu to Parvati and to the assembled sages. So this verse is the second verse that Lord Shiva speaks in that regard. Sri Rudra Vacha, Trishvapi Apishushrani, saying, "My dear Parvati, have you ever seen or heard of such character? Trishvapi Apishushrani, Hare Radbhuta Karmana, Mahatmyam, Bhritya Bhrityanam, the servants of the Lord." Just see the glory of the servants of the Lord. Nisprihanam Mahatmanam. Nispriha, they are Nispriha, they don't care for any material situation or activities or possessions. Nisprihanam. Although you cursed Maharaj Chitraketu to become an asura, he is not at all disturbed by that. And then this verse, as quoted in the purport, Narayana parasarve nakutascha nabibhyati. The devotees of Lord Narayana, they never fear anything. Swarga pavarga narakesh, they go to Swarga, they go to Naraka, hell or heaven. Apitulyati darshana, they're always equipoised because of their concentration on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the same consciousness is being shown here by Bali Maharaj. He's not disturbed by any of the other very disturbing situations that he's finding himself in, losing everything, being pushed to hell, being arrested. He's not afraid of those things. He simply doesn't want to break his promise to the Lord. We can see his transcendental qualities shining forth here. So Bali Maharaj is known as the epitome of Atmanivedana. There are nine processes of devotional service, and each of those processes has a devotee who perfected themselves by one of those processes. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam, Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu, Bhaktis Jennava Kriyeta Bhagavatyadha Tanmanyedhitamuttamam. So this verse is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto. Prahlad, of course, is the grandfather of Bali Maharaj. So he lists these 9 processes of devotional service, and he says these are the best ways in which to worship the Lord. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given a verse that describes each of the devotees who perfected their lives by one or other of these processes. So I'd like to just share that verse with everybody. You may be familiar with this, or at least with the list. So Maharaj Parikshit attained the highest perfection, shelter at Lord Krishna's lotus feet, simply by hearing about the Lord. Shukadeva Goswami attained perfection simply by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj attained perfection by remembering the Lord, Smarana. The goddess of fortune attained perfection by massaging the transcendental legs of Mahavishnu. Maharaj Prithu attained perfection by worshipping the deity, and Akrura attained perfection by offering prayers unto the Lord. Vajrangaji, Hanuman, attained perfection by rendering service to Lord Ramchandra, and Arjuna attained perfection simply by being Krishna's friend. Bali Maharaj attained perfection by dedicating everything to the lotus feet of Krishna. Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshit Abhavat Vayasaki Kirtane Prahlada Smarane Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi Prithu Pujane. It's a very simple verse actually. Shri Vishnu, this means in regard to Lord Vishnu, Shravane Parikshit. So by Shravana was Maharaj Parikshit. Abhavat. Vayasaki Kirtane. Vayasaki means the son of Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami. Prahlad Smarane, Prahlad Maharaj was constantly remembering Lord Narayan even when he was being tortured by Hiranyakashipu, so he perfected himself by that remembrance. Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi. So by worshipping the Lakshmi Devi is always engaged in massaging the limbs of the Lord. So in that way she perfected herself. Pritu Pujane. Maharaj Pritu by Archana, by deity worship. Akruras Tvabhivandane. So when Akrura came to Vrindavan, he offered many prayers to the Lord. Even before seeing Krishna, he was glorifying the land of Vrindavan. So he was perfected by those prayers. Kapipatir Dasyetha. Kapipati means the Lord of the monkeys, Hanuman. So he was known as the topmost servant of Lord Ram. And by that service he perfected himself. Lord Ram was so obliged by Hanuman's service that he said, actually, I have nothing to give you, Hanuman. I can't repay you for all that you've done for me. I can simply offer you my embrace. So Lord Ram embraced Hanuman, and thus Hanuman's life was perfected. Sakhya Arjuna, by friendship, Arjuna is the constant companion of Krishna. So he perfected himself by being the friend of the Lord. Sarvasmatma nivedana balir abhut krishnaptir eshapara. So sarvasmatma nivedane. Maharaj Bali, sarva sva atma. He dedicated himself and everything, offered everything to the lotus foot of Lord Vamanadev. And in that way, he attained perfection. Krishnaptir eshampara. So all of these personalities achieved the lotus feet of Lord Krishna by their different various methods of engaging in devotional service. And it's also described that Maharaj Ambarish is given as the example of somebody who engaged in all of these different activities. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smana. He did all of them. Savaimana Krishna Padara Vindayo Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanu Varnane. So he engaged his mind, he engaged his words, he engaged his body. In many different ways he engaged in devotional service. So he's given the example of somebody who engaged in all of the items of devotional service and also achieved the same result. So whether one engages one sense particularly or one item one particularly focuses on, Maharaj Parikshit heard Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami spoke Bhagavatam, or engages in all of them, the end result and perfection is that one attains lotus feet of Lord Krishna by that activity. Another point which has been mentioned several times in this section and is very relevant, and even yesterday Prabhu was mentioning the Yasyaham Anugrinami verse, that when the Lord is especially favorable, then he takes away a devotee's material opulence and support. Yasyaham Anugrinami Harishye Tadhanam Shanai Tato Dhanam Tijantyasya Svajana Dukkha Dukkhitam. So what happens when the Lord takes away everything? Then Tato Dhanam Chidantyasya Svajana Dukkha Dukkhitam. Then all the relatives of that unsuccessful person, poverty-stricken devotee, they're no longer interested in him and they reject his association. So this verse is quite well known, and it's already been described how Srila Prabhupada felt that this was especially applying to him in his Grihastha days, where his idea was to get some wealth and use that to carry out the order of his spiritual master to preach the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in English. But that wasn't successful. So that's a well-known fact, and Prabhupada many times would remember that. When Prabhupada learned of this verse, he felt that this verse was really applying to him. But just yesterday when I was preparing, I came across the next verse after Yasyaham Anugrinami. So this verse is from the 88th chapter of 10th canto, and it's actually Maharaj Parikshit has asked Shukadeva Goswami, how is it that the devotees of Lord Shiva who has nothing are very opulent, and the devotees of Lord Krishna who is very opulent are generally poverty-stricken? So in the course of the answer, then Krishna spoke this verse, Yasyaham Anugrinami. So the full translation of that verse is, the personality of Godhead said, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. So as I said, Prabhupada felt that this verse spoke to him. But then if you look in the next verse, it's actually even more applicable. This is 1088-9. Sa yada vitatod yoga nirvinnasya dhanehaya matparai kritamaitrasya karishye madanugraham. When he becomes frustrated in his attempts to make money and instead befriends my devotees, I bestow my special mercy upon him. So the Krishna takes everything away and forces one to surrender. That's a well-known point. But Krishna goes on to say that being in that frustrated condition, not being able to make money, then what does the person do? He befriends his devotees, and then the Lord bestows his special mercy. So these two verses together is almost like a blueprint of Prabhupada's, Vanaprastha years, where he was trying to make money, was not successful. His family weren't interested in helping him in his spiritual pursuits, in his preaching, neither his wife nor his children. And once Prabhupada wasn't able to even financially support them, they were even more neglectful of him. They really didn't care. And then what Prabhupada was forced to take shelter of his god brothers, of Krishna. And in that state, having apparently been deprived of all facilities, slowly the Lord's plan for him was revealed. So really these, not just the Yasyaham, but also this next verse really portrays Srila Prabhupada's life. It's almost as if they've been written for, in thinking about Prabhupada's life, because I'm not sure of other examples that can so perfectly exemplify the teachings in these two verses as Srila Prabhupada's own life. So it's very interesting to meditate on that, on these points that Krishna is making. So also this week is the Rath Yatra festival going on. So there's one pastime of Lord Jagannath where he's also showing how punishing a devotee is actually a great blessing. So in the material world, when someone is punished or beaten, that's considered, a great tragedy. But in the spiritual, if Krishna shows some apparent punishment to a devotee, that's actually a great blessing. Bali Maharaj is realizing that he's going to get a position, an association of the Lord for eternity. So he's actually being very much blessed, though externally it might appear that he's being punished. Indra is going to get the kingdom back, which is what his motive was, but he's not going to get any spiritual benefit. Whereas Bali Maharaj, who apparently is a demon, he's going to get the association of the Lord as his doorkeeper, and he's going to be blessed and glorified in history, in Shastra, for eternity, having offered everything to the Lord. So Bali Maharaj is considered one of the Mahajans. Indra is not a Mahajan. So in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes also, there is the story of the Odan Shasti festival. So Odan Shasti is the time, it normally comes in December, when the weather starts to get colder, and then Lord Jagannath is offered special garments. And the distinctive characteristic of those garments is that they're not washed, they're still starched. Like when you buy new clothes, dhotis or I guess saris also, they have some they're a little thick because there's some starch used to keep the cloth straight. So the principle is that those clothes should be washed before you wear them, and even more so for the deity. But in Jagannath Puri, the clothes are offered without being washed. So when Lord Chaitanya was living in Jagannath Puri, there with his associates, once Gadadhar Pandit came to him and he said, he asked Lord Chaitanya to give him his mantra again, like to give initiation again. He said, I gave my mantra to somebody, now I don't feel the same realization when I chant the mantra. Can you please, more or less like saying, reinitiate me? And Lord Chaitanya says, I can do anything for you, but your spiritual master is still present, so it wouldn't be proper for me to give you the mantra again. You should take it from him. And Gadadhar said, yeah, but my spiritual master, who knows where he is? His spiritual master was Pundrik Vidyanidhi, as we heard a couple of days back. Who knows when he's going to come? You please do it for me. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, I know that Pundrik Vidyanidhi will come here very shortly. He's coming to see me. you are also wanting to see him, he's going to be here very soon. So we have to remember this is in the days before social media, where we know what's going on in the world. Everyone knows what their guru is doing, or they can find out very easily. But in those days, it would take months to walk from Navadvip to Puri, and the devotees wouldn't know who's coming when. But Lord Chaitanya, as the omniscient Supreme Lord, he told Gadadhar that, don't worry, your spiritual master is coming very soon. So in 10 days' time, Pundarik Vidyanidhi did arrive, and he was a very intimate associate of the Lord, and all the devotees were crying. The Lord was also crying to meet him again after a long time. Actually, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, his original birthplace and house, it's outside Chittagong in Bangladesh, and ISKCON actually has a temple there. It's called Pundarik Dham. And there's actually the original wall of his house from 600 years back, perhaps, is still there's still some remnants of that wall as part of the temple, ISKCON temple structure. So it's called Pundarik Dham, where Pundarik Vidyanidhi hailed from. And he's the incarnation of Vrishabhanu Maharaj. So Lord Chaitanya used to call him Father, Father. And he had a very intimate association with the Lord. And Swarup Damodar also was his very close friend. So when they met, they were both trying to wrestle each other to the ground to get the foot dust from each other. And the devotees were all laughing to see this fun. So Swarup Damodar and Lord Chaitanya told Pundarik, you please stay here now, I want to have your association. So he arranged a residence for Pundarik Vidyanidhi in Puri. So every day, Swarup Damodar and Pundarik would go together and have darshan of Lord Jagannath. So on the Odhan Shashti day, all the devotees went there and they observed the festival. The Lord was dressed in different... It seems like throughout the day, the Lord was dressed in different outfits and offered many different flower decorations, flower crown, flower bangles, not just garlands, and many offerings, 16 items, and a lot of kirtan and instruments playing. So the whole day it seems that Lord Chaitanya was taking darshan of Lord Jagannath, and in the evening everyone went back home. So after the festival, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was contemplating that why is it they're offering this starched cloth to Lord Jagannath, that it's actually considered muchi. So he was discussing with his friend Swarup Damodar. He says, in this place in Jagannath Puri, the rules and regulations are followed, the Shruti and the Smriti. We know from Rupa Goswami that devotional service which doesn't follow the Shastras is considered a disturbance in society. Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatrim Vidim Vina, Akantiki Harer Bhaktir, Utpataya Eva Kalpite. Utpat, the word is utpat, means disturbance. Even in, I think in Hindi, Bengali, both utpat is used to mean a disturbance. If you see on the Parikrama path at Govardhan, just before going down towards Govardhan, there's at least there used to be a sign there, and a little map. And it showed some parts of Govardhan where there were lots of monkeys. And the sign was saying, Bandar Utpat Stan, or something like that. Monkey disturbed area, warning people that when you go there, watch out for the monkeys. So that word Utpat, just like the monkeys disturb, devotional service, not following the rules and regulations, is the disturbance in society. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi told Swarup Damodar, why do they offer this muchi cloth to Lord Jagannath? This is not right. And Swarup Damodar, he'd been living in Puri for a long time, said, I think it's okay. Lord Jagannath must like this. It's a tradition. It's a local tradition here. And if the Lord didn't like it, then it would have been stopped. Lord Jagannath has that power. The king would have stopped it if Lord Jagannath doesn't like it. So I think it's okay. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi said, no, Lord, maybe the Lord, he can do what he likes. He's above the rules and regulations. But all the pujaris, all the priests, the king, they're also all touching this cloth. The king put the turban on his head. I guess it's a maha cloth. And they're all touching this muchi cloth. So the Lord may do it, but how can the pujaris be so apparently transcendental to the rules? So like this, Swarup Damodar and Pundarik Vidyanidhi are discussing. And Pundarik Vidyanidhi was doubtful that why is this starched cloth is offered, this is not right. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, this pastime is not described in detail, just a few verses, because it's described in detail in Chaitanya Bhagavat. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says that Pundarik Vidyanidhi's mind was a little hateful. And Chaitanya Bhagavat, it says he had some doubts. So there's a little bit of different flavor between the two authors of the two books. And it says that in Chaitanya Bhagavat, where the story is given in in detail. It says that they were kind of just joking and laughing with each other, discussing how the pujaris have become Brahman also. Lord Jagannath is Brahman, he's above the rules, but how can the pujaris and the priests be Brahman and above the rules? So it seemed more like a light conversation. So by this time it's already evening, then they go have dinner, they go to see Lord Chaitanya, and then they go take rest. So that night when Vidyanidhi is sleeping, then Lord Jagannath and Balaram appear in his dream in a very angry mood. And they start slapping his cheeks repeatedly, one after another, both of them slapping Vidyanidhi very forcefully. So much so that his cheeks became swollen and the indentations of their fingers were scarring his cheeks. Now, generally we don't see Lord Jagannath with fingers, but perhaps on this occasion they manifest fingers to slap even more nicely. So Vidyanidhi was, mind you, this is all in the dream, it's happening. And he's saying in his dream that, "Oh my Lord, why are you beating me? What is my offense? Please forgive me. I'm sorry." And Jagannath saying, "You're making offense to me and to my devotees. You're living here in Puri, but you're bringing your outside mentality here. Why are you offending me and offending my pujaris? There's no limit to your offenses." And they keep on beating him repeatedly. And so Vidyanidhi says, "Okay, I'm sorry, please forgive me." And then he says, "Actually, this is a great mercy upon me, and an apparent punishment. Actually, this is a great blessing." And he's very grateful for being corrected by the Lord like this, that his wrong mentality has been slapped out of him. So it says that for 48 minutes, Jagannath and Baladev were slapping him. Of course, this is in the dream. But when he wakes up, and Jagannath and Baladev have gone, and when he wakes up, he sees that actually his cheeks are swollen, and actually the marks of their fingers are on his face. So the next morning, he doesn't go to the temple, and he's very embarrassed that I don't want anyone to see me in this condition. And so Sarup Damodar, he wonders what happened to Pundarik, because they always go together. So after having darshan, he comes to visit him at his home. And he sees him, look, "Oh, what happened to you? You got injured. Who hurt you?" So then, very shyly, Pundarik Vidyanidhi tells him the whole story, that this is what happened. The Lord came and slapped me because of my offensive mentality about the starched cloth. And Sarup Damodar is amazed that this is such mercy you have received. And actually the verse says that Lord Krishna never slapped even his own son Pradyumna. When you're raising children, sometimes you get upset and it may happen. Krishna never slapped Pradyumna, but you're so merciful that Jagannath has personally come and slapped you. So this was a great mercy upon Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Although it may seem like a punishment, the Lord actually has bestowed great mercy upon him. And it's interesting to note that this story is actually the last part of Chaitanya Bhagavat. It ends with this description of Pundarik Vidyanidhi's glories and the description of Jagannath and Baladev slapping him. And that's how Chaitanya Bhagavat ends, the very last chapter of the Antyakanda. And it also says that Pundarik Vidyanidhi didn't want to offend Mother Ganga, so he never actually took bath in Ganga. He felt it would be an offense to put his feet inside Ganga Devi, considering it the Charanamrita coming from Lord Vamana. So he would just drink a little water and offer respects to Ganga, but he never wanted to take bath. So in this way, we can remember Lord Jagannath and his punishment on Pundarik Vidyanidhi during this Rath Yatra season, and also remember Lord Vamana Dev, how his punishment of Bali is actually great glorification. So I'd like to stop here unless there are any questions or comments. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for your class. The last pastime you recounted from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Pundarik Vidyanidhi and Jagannath slapping him for discussing the pujaris of Jagannath's behavior. I was wondering, how should we, who also staying in a holy place, sometimes we witness things going wrong, what we consider to be inadequate behavior, and sometimes we are personally affected by this behavior. How should we approach the situation in order to rectify it without making offense to the Lord at the same time. Maybe you could just say something about that.
Yeah, I mean, this pastime is a little bit special because Jagannath has his own standards, which may not always follow what's followed in other places according to the Shastra. In fact, Ramanujacharya came to Puri and he saw the method of worship and he wanted to change it. And Lord Jagannath kicked him out hundreds of miles away. So Lord Jagannath has a little bit special personality, and therefore his worship may not always be according to the common standards. So that's one aspect. In our own lives, if we see something going wrong, generally in ISKCON there's quite a strong hierarchy. We have, say in Mayapur, we have so many managers, department heads, and divisional heads. So there's a strong hierarchy that if in a certain area you see something's not right, then there should be, shouldn't be any hesitation to bring it to the attention of the relevant authority and let them deal with it as they see fit. Generally, as common devotees, we don't have the kind of managerial clout that we can change everything that we see is going wrong. So we have to follow the established standard, follow the management system and try to effect changes in that way. Or always by our own example, we can try to always set the proper example. But I think in Mayapur, and even in ISKCON generally, there is a strong hierarchy that, we know who's the authority, who's the temple president, who's the regional secretary, who's the national council, who's the GBC. And you can approach accordingly the relevant authority to correct anything that may not be perfect. And if you have a relationship, with the person, then you can also share your realization and encourage someone, maybe this could be done in a little better way. And if you have that relationship, you can directly also approach somebody. But it's a very tricky thing, trying to correct Vaishnavas especially. Is one, because that kind of assumes that you know what's right, which may or may not also be the case. We may often be mistaken in our, in our contemplation in judging a situation. We may not know the background or the reason something's happening, so we have to be very careful in trying to correct any Vaishnava. And if we want to do so, we should do it in the correct manner by going to the authority. That's the best, safest process, safest way to deal with such a situation. Anything else? Madhuri's first, actually.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for a nice class. I was thinking this morning, because the Ratha Yatra is going on here, and about Lord Jagannath in Puri, and how Westerners are not allowed into the main temple and into Gundicha temple. And I was wondering, well, if everything's Krishna's arrangement, maybe it's Jagannath's arrangement like that, but we know Srila Prabhupada wasn't so happy about that his disciples couldn't enter the temple.
Yeah, that's a big topic, and there are many different points of view. I've actually read some articles that because it's not just Westerners, even Sanatana Goswami and Haridas Thakur, especially Haridas Thakur, he also didn't enter the temple. So I think it's something that we shouldn't be too fussed over. If someone like Haridas Thakur didn't enter the temple of Lord Jagannath, then why should we get worked up about it? We have Jagannath here in Mayapur, we have Jagannath everywhere. And if at some point the rules change, there are always some rumors. Recently the Supreme Court was suggesting to the Jagannath temple management they should allow everyone to come in. We can take that as the mercy of the Lord, but it's not that we're deprived of Jagannath's mercy just because we can't enter the temple. I think actually it's humbling for Western devotees that okay, let's accept that we're fallen and we're not qualified to have darshan of that Lord Jagannath, but Jagannath has come to us by Prabhupada's mercy. So I don't think it's something to lose sleep over. And when Prabhupada went to Jagannath Puri, he also, because he's with all his Western devotees, he also didn't go to have darshan. So, if they can't have, then I also won't have. But Jagannath's mercy is not simply restricted to those who have his darshan. Jagannath's mercy is flowing all over the world via Rath Yatra ceremony. So, let's see. Maybe in our lifetimes, Jagannath will open his gates. If not, we are happy to have darshan of the chakra, darshan of Jagannath in other locations. And it's kind of funny because as part of the Jagannath standards, they also only cook certain vegetables. If you go to Jagannath, get the Mahaprasad of Jagannath, they don't even allow Western vegetables in the temple. They don't cook with tomatoes or potatoes, vegetables that were imported from other countries, chilies also. So it's not that Western devotees can't enter, even Western vegetables can't enter the Jagannath temple. So we just take that humbly, and let's see in what ways Jagannath is already giving us so much mercy in other ways. Maybe one day we'll be able to have darshan of him in the temple also. Last question.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I have a question regarding Bali had offered his head for the third step to fulfill his promise. And I think Lord accepted that part of his offering. And still it is considered, I guess, that he couldn't fulfill his promise and he was sent to hell. So that's something not clear to me.
Well, it's not really hell. It's described that the Sutala planet where Lord Vamana sent Bali Maharaj was actually even more opulent than the heavens, though it's in the lower regions. And Bali Maharaj and as a special favor, the Lord personally became the doorkeeper, like the watchman, security guard of Bali Maharaj, that no one would disturb him. So, if you look from an external materialistic point of view, Bali Maharaj was a nice king and the Lord cheated him and took everything and punished him. But actually Bali Maharaj was in a much better position. Having received the mercy of the Lord, he's famous for surrendering everything to the Lord. He has a constant association of the Lord in his planet. Later on, actually Krishna and Balaram, they go and visit Bali Maharaj to get back the 6 sons of Devaki who were killed by Kamsa. They go and give their darshan to Bali Maharaj. So he's actually, in a very... he's a Mahajan. There are a very limited number of Mahajans in the universe. He's one of them. So actually he was really blessed by the Lord because of his attitude of full surrender. Materially, spiritually, in every way he was blessed. But that only Vaishnavas can understand. Externally people might criticize, Krishna cheated him, took everything away by trickery. But Vaishnavas understand, actually this was the blessing of the Lord. And Bali Maharaj himself understood it like that. In tomorrow's verse, he says himself, I regard the punishment you have given me as most exalted. So we should accept it in Bali Maharaj's own mood, how the Lord actually blessed him. It wasn't a punishment. Thank you. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande.